Flew down to Miami one time for a job interview. Screwed it up. Didn't do well. Thought I'd share it with you because, here at recruiting firm Riderflex, we interview people all day long. And that's what we do for a living is we hunt down candidates and place great talent into companies that hire us, right? So that's what we do for a living. We talk to candidates every day. We interview people all the time. Before I started Riderflex, this is way earlier in my career, I had flown down to Miami to interview for this job. I wanted to share this with you. I'm about a third of the way through the interview. By the way, this was in August, I think, in Miami, which is a sucky time to be there because it's hot, it's muggy, it's nasty. I mean, sorry, nothing against everybody that lives down in Miami, but June, July, and August sucks there. Anyway, I was down there, I think it was August, about a third of the way through the interview with the hiring manager, and I started sweating profusely. I mean, it was like somebody was pouring a bucket of water over my head. I was super nervous for whatever reason that day, and that's not normally like me. In fact, usually my problem when I was interviewing was that I was too cocky or too overconfident. But for this particular interview, I got nervous for some reason. Anyway, heart started beating fast. I had a tie on, choking me. It was hot in the office. It was hot outside. It was muggy. I started sweating. And when I started sweating, I couldn't stop. I mean, the hiring manager was looking at me like, what's wrong with you, bro? I had to, believe it or not, I had to excuse myself. I had to excuse myself and go to the restroom right in the middle of the interview. So, I'm in the restroom, I pouring water on my face and trying to wipe my face off, paper towels. There's people coming in and out of the restroom. They're looking at me like, what's wrong with this guy? It was bad. It was bad. I come back to this guy's office. I tried to kind of recover from it, but there was no recovering. It was over. I should have just walked in and said, hey, nice to meet you. I got to go. I tried to say something. I tried to make up some bullshit excuse or whatever. Tried to fight my way out of it a little bit, tried hard because I flew all the way down there for the interview. So I tried to, make up some excuse, but it was too late. I mean, the guy was not going to hire me after that. Right. So I went back to my hotel room and drank the rest of the evening. Just playing. I think I did go to the bar, but anyway, what's the point of this episode? Here's what I want to share with you, because we interview people all day long here at Riderflex, and we present candidates as well, right? Like if we get a search from a client, we will present 5, 10, 15 finalists sometimes. So, the majority of the people we present do not get hired, right? Only one person's going to get the job. So a lot of people, they do the interview and they don't get selected. I see people get really bummed out about it, right? And sometimes they get pissed off about it, right? They're mad. Here's the point of the episode. Don't get bummed. Don't get mad. Okay. Learn. Find out what you can do differently. Sometimes you can get feedback from the recruiter. Sometimes you can get feedback from the company or the hiring manager themselves, but not often. A lot of times you won't get specifics for a host of reasons. Primarily, they're protecting themselves from being sued or whatever, because they don't want to give you any specifics. So they're not going to give you any details, but do some self-learning, if you will, right? Just really reflect on what you did, what you said, how you presented, how you prepared, or what you weren't prepared for, what questions they may have asked that you didn't answer very well, your mannerisms, who you smiled at, who you didn't smile at, who you said hello to. Did you vibe? Did you connect? Did you have any emotional connection with the person? Just overanalyze yourself. Don't wait for a lot of specific feedback from the recruiter or the hiring manager. Do some self-reflection and try to study on what you could have done better, and be honest with yourself. Don't beat yourself up about it. I'm not saying that you got to crucify yourself for anything you did wrong, but study on it and practice what you reflected on and try to do better next time, right? That's the key. Don't get pissed off. It's not the hiring manager's fault. It's not the recruiter's fault. It's your fault most of the time. I see so many candidates just really angry on why they weren't selected, right? Like they just, assume they should have gotten the job or whatever. Doesn't work that way. There's lots of people applying for the job most of the time. And so just try to reflect on it. What did I reflect on the day I went to Miami and started sweating like a pig there in the middle of the interview? After I got over the whole embarrassment part of it, right? And so forth, I really thought on the whole thing. I thought, how did that happen? Like, that has never happened to me ever. Like that wasn't a normal thing for me. It never had happened, never did happen again. Only time it ever happened to me. And by the way, I was kind of overqualified for that job. It wasn't like this once in a lifetime thing that I was super nervous about when I went for the interview, right? So it was crazy for that to happen to me. Well, anyway, I thought a lot about it. Here's what I learned. First of all, if it's August, don't fly to Miami for a job interview. No, just joking. What did I learn from it? I learned this. I don't think I got a good night's sleep the night before. I think I was up late. I was restless. I just didn't get a good enough rest. That was number one. I think I had too big of a meal the night before. I think I'd had a couple of cocktails the night before because I was feeling pretty relaxed. As usual, I was feeling overconfident about things. And so I probably shouldn't have drank alcohol. I probably had too big of a meal. I probably didn't rest enough. And most importantly, I don't think I prepared enough. I think the next morning when I got up, I actually got nervous getting dressed and getting ready to go because I wasn't as prepared as I could have been. And normally I was much more prepared than that. I was a little overconfident in the whole thing when I had flown down there. So I waited until the morning of the interview to get nervous because I wasn't prepared, didn't do my proper homework. And then I was kind of restless when I got there. And then it was kind of hot and muggy, had my tie buttoned up too tight. And he asked me a couple of questions I wasn't ready for right off the beginning, and boom, I lost it. So there you go. My point is I reflected on it. I tried to figure out what I could do better. What can I learn from it? But I wasn't mad at him. I wasn't mad at anybody. I just, looked at the situation like I could have done better. Now, final point of this episode is this. Many of you are going to interview numerous times, a bunch of times in your career, most of you. Now, hey, some of you listening to this, you've had 2 jobs your whole life and you've never had to interview. Okay, good for you. but most of you are going to have to interview a bunch. Here's the thing. If you don't get the job, the reality is it probably wasn't meant to be. I know that sounds corny, whatever, make fun of me if you want to in the comments on this post. But I am kind of a believer that things happen for a reason. I really I think things happen for a reason. Here's the deal. My wife probably wouldn't have moved to Miami anyway. I mean, really, when I told her I was flying down there for it, she's like, huh? Why? She goes, I don't want to live in Miami. Guess what? I lost my cool, started sweating in the interview, didn't get the job. We didn't have to move to Miami. There you go. Boom. It was meant to be, right? So my point is, I think a lot of these things happen for a reason. Don't think too much of it. If you don't get the job, there's going to be another one. Don't get bummed out. Just try to learn from it. Get better at it as you interview. You'll get the next one. And there is your Riderflex tip of the day.